is over. With a 110-98 win in Game 6, the Timberwolves close out the Denver Nuggets. It's the second time in 3 years the Wolves have upset the higher-seeded Nuggets. 2 years ago, it was a thrilling 7-game series, capped by the greatest second-half comeback in Game 7 history. This time, the Wolves and Jaden McDaniels. Without Anthony Edwards over the final 2 games, without Dante DiVincenzo over the final 2 games, and without Ayo Dosunmu in the closeout Game 6, the Wolves send the Nuggets reeling into the offseason.
Alan Horton on the call last night. You heard that one on our sister station, Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, FM 103.5, also on the Wolves channel on the iHeartRadio app. Wolves win. They take down the Denver Nuggets in 6 games. They're on to face the San Antonio Spurs in the second round. And we're now joined by one of the greatest basketball minds in all the Twin Cities.
Let's go.
Parker Fox. What's going on, Parker? Congratulations on your first appearance on the Tennafitzgerald. I know it's a big moment for you.
It is. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I lost sleep last night because of it. But we're here. We're getting through all of our fears.
And you thought I was going to have you here to talk Wolves. I just wanted to break down Frost Victoire with you.
Right.
Who do you think is going to be the best player in that series?
Oh, man. Good question. Could probably go with my fiance. Is that the right answer?
That's what I'm going. I would go with that too. Even if you don't believe it, I'd go with that. Well, good luck to the Frost. I know come playoff times, usually when they step up, they are built for the playoffs.
Yeah, they left this morning. She's on the road. They play Montreal tomorrow at noon, and then I think maybe a Monday game. So start off on the road in Montreal. That's a great hockey place, right? We've seen what they've done with the Canadiens. I think Game 6 back there tonight, maybe in Montreal.
That is in Montreal. Yes, that's at Montreal. Yeah, they won in Tampa Bay the other night.
Yeah, so the hockey energy is high there. The Frost,
good hockey.
They got their hands full, right? They got their hands full, but it's going to be fun.
They'll be up to the challenge.
They will be up for the challenge, and they got some amazing players, and hopefully they stay healthy and have a good time and find a way. 5-game series, so you gotta get one on the road to start out. Then they'll be back home, Grand Casino Arena, and the fans there have been excellent all year. So, yes, go Frost.
And the Wolves were up to the challenge last night. You were in the building.
Yeah.
I watched on television. Now, I watched both games on television. It seemed like both places were just absolutely rocking. Can you confirm, was Target Center just on fire last night?
Yeah, I mean, there was a play where Mike Conley had a weak side block, and it looked pretty clean to me, and they ended up blowing the whistle, but the Wolves were halfway down the court because the place was so loud, nobody could hear the whistle. But yeah, Target Center was fantastic. I do think that this rivalry that's been created between, the Nuggets and the Timberwolves is so good for the NBA. It's so good for basketball because fans on both sides are ruthless. Like, we've seen this stuff on X, we've seen this stuff on social medias, and it's just been fun to be a little small part of that. And then it's really even more fun to end up on top and close out the series in 6 here at home. But yeah, Target Center was electric. It was one of those games where the fans weren't only loud, but they were loud at the correct time. Like, there was the moments when the Wolves needed them, and Denver was creeping into it, that the Target Center rose back up. So awesome run in the fourth quarter. I think that was obviously a key, but Target Center made the difference, and people were fired up leaving there last night.
Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah,
I've never really seen a guy in the middle of a series just call out basically every player on the opposing team. You're talking about the rivalry, and that just threw some gasoline onto that fire. What were your thoughts when he made those comments, and man, did he back it up last night? Yeah,
he certainly did. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I come from the perspective of a guy that played an undersized position. Like, I play the center position, and the last thing I would do would be to tell somebody that they're a bad defender or talk bad about their game, because I do not want to feel their wrath when I have to play against them. But Jaden said it, and he stood 10 toes down, and he was asked in the post-game interview last night, like, do you have any other comments? And he's like, no, I don't have any other comments. I said what I said, and we won the series.
And I was right.
And I was right, and enough's enough. But he was exactly right. I mean, 32 points last night on 25 shots. Finally made a 3. He was struggling from deep. Not only that, but he defended Jamal Murray, the other team's supposable best guard, to 17 shots. He was 4 for 17 from the floor for 12 points. So Jaden was all over him defensively. And then on the offensive end, the Wolves were obviously depleted. No Ayo Dosunmu, no Ant, no Dante, no Kyle Anderson. So you had to find different ways to put different lineups out there. And a lineup that we hadn't seen much this year was that triple big lineup with Naz, Julius, and Rudy. And then Jaden McDaniels playing the 2, and that is a lot of length. It's a lot of size, and maybe your shooting goes away a little bit, but Denver's 28th in the NBA in block shots. They're last in the NBA in steals. So you talk about a team that if you have the size, you have the advantage, you got to take advantage of it. And Jamal Murray was isolated on Jaden McDaniels all night, and Jaden took advantage. He called him a bad defender, and he went and proved it in Game 6 and scored 32 points, and he was outstanding on both sides of the floor. 45 minutes of play, too. Only sat out for 3 minutes, so I know he's tired.
Yeah, the whole team was playing all day.
Yeah.
The day, like 6 guys playing a lot of minutes last night.
Totally.
Jaden, one more thing on Jaden. As a casual basketball fan,
Yeah.
I've always seen the defensive prowess of Jaden McDaniels, right? Like, you could tell, hey, this guy could be basically like an all-NBA defensive player. You always hear some basketball people go, man, this guy has so much untapped potential offensively. And I guess there's moments I would see that, but never really consistently.
Yeah.
And last night was kind of like a light bulb moment of, oh, that's what people have been talking about. Do you think, like, how much more is there in him? Is he always going to kind of be playing second fiddle to Anthony Edwards, or can he, like, be somewhat on the same plane in terms of stature in the league as Ant?
I mean, that's a great question. I think you're right. I think a lot of people look at him and they just look at his body makeup and they say, well, he's 6'9" and his arms go forever long. So that makes up a really good, defender. A lot of times it takes away when you're super athletic and you have long arms. It's hard to be a really good shooter just because the dynamics and the mechanics of a shot are difficult when your arms are longer. You look at Desmond Bane, who's in Orlando, and he's got a negative body height to arm length, and he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. So that's something a lot of people look at. But then you look at Jaden McDaniels and his development. Like, this was a top 10 5-star national recruit in high school, and in a basketball market up there in the Seattle area. And this is a guy that not only, went to, Washington and he was solid, he's a good player, but came to the NBA and people were like, just kind of toting him as a defender. And I think he is a really elite defender, and I think he's a really good secondary piece. But when he had to be the first option, i.e. last night, Game 6, he was fantastic. Like, he did everything at a really high level. Now, he hasn't shot the ball great from 3. He's been struggling from the 3-point shot recently, but you go 13 for 25 and 45 minutes.
He had some mid-range stuff
points
last night that was pretty good.
It was excellent, right?
Yeah.
And he's a 3-level scorer, and I think that's something. He's got one of the best slow steps in the NBA. He attacks guys' hips really well. He slows down his offense. He's got a really great touch off the glass, and then I'm glad you highlighted it. His mid-range has been improved majorly, and that's an aspect of an NBA player where if you can figure out that mid-range, it's all about getting to your spot. Chris Paul was so great about getting to that elbow, elevating, and hitting that elbow jumper down. And I think that's something that Jaden looks at, is if the 3-point shot is not falling, how can I get to the rim? And if I can't get to the rim, what can I do damage-wise in the mid-range? So I think he's taking steps in his game, and the fact that we got him for the amount we're paying him is, I think, one of the great steals in the NBA.
Obviously, when you are missing the players they were missing last night, especially at the guard position, you're needing someone to step up that you weren't counting on necessarily. And I look at Terrence Shannon Jr. last night.
Yeah.
A guy who hasn't played a whole lot in this series, and all of a sudden it's, hey, you're going to start and you're going to play 34, 35 minutes for us, and we need you to contribute. And 24 points, and he did it efficiently on his shooting. He didn't turn the ball over. I can't imagine that's easy to just not be playing a whole lot in a series, and then you're just thrown into the fire, and he stepped up big time last night.
Yeah, it's not easy. And a lot of guys in his position do have the chance to bounce down to the G League and play some G League games. And Terrence was never in that position. He was always with this Wolves roster. But he's a guy who's been through it, right? He was multiple year college type of player, a couple transfers. I actually had the pleasure to play him at Illinois his senior year, and
you shut him down, right?
I didn't do anything. No, I didn't do anything. He's a blur. He's like, you blink and he's at the rim.
Yeah, he can move.
And we had a really quick guard in Elijah Hawkins, who was probably about 5'10" and one of the quickest lateral guys I've ever seen. And Terrence at 6'6", 6'7" stood toe to toe with him and just moved laterally. And like, one of the more impressive players I ever played against. And to see that kind of transition in the NBA, it's tough to find your role. But last night he came out, and credit to Chris Finch as well. He put the ball in his hands. Not only did he play him in the game 35 minutes, but he gave him opportunities, gave him looks. He took 20 shots last night, had 24 points on 20 shots. Only 1 of 7 from 3, but that 1 3 he hit was just enormous. Corner 3, he caught the ball with probably about a second left on the shot clock. So it was one of those kind of catch and fire quick twitch type of shots, and it drained, and target center went crazy. So you mix that with a couple high level plays at the rim. Terrence Shannon's definitely a guy that he's going to need to continue to show up, because as we transition into this San Antonio series against the Spurs, they have so many elite guards: De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson. So it's going to be difficult. They have all the depth, and TJ's going to need to be able to step up. And another thing to highlight too is, like, Chris Finch called him out in Game 5. He said his defensive scout wasn't where it needed to be. His intensity wasn't where it needed to be. And people were, critiquing that. A couple of Bulls writers were saying that that's not the right time to call out a young player in Game 5. And I disagree. I think Chris Finch called him out, and he stood up, and he stood, 10 toes and went out there and played a fantastic game and helped this Wolves team, close the series. Because I think if this thing goes to 7, you have to go to Denver.
That wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good at all. And the next thing, we were, I think, 8-point dogs last night after Io wasn't able to play. So the fact that he came out and played the way he did in 35 minutes was fantastic. Not only great on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end, shutting down guys like Christian Braun and Cam Johnson.
Would you say Rudy Gobert was the MVP of this series?
Yeah, man.
I know. 8 assists last night. Where did that come from? He was efficient shooting as well. He obviously great. The Wolves dominated the offensive glass last night, and I still cannot get over, even though I probably should, because he was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year award. But it still seems odd to me that I did not see the way he defended Jokic one-on-one in the series coming. I didn't see it. And
I think it's a credit to the coaching staff and their trust in what he can do defensively. Now, Nikola Jokic, he still had 28, 9, and 10. So it's not like, but this is a top 15 player of all time, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. He's going to go down as one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And the fact that Rudy was able to just, stay toe to toe with him, and they would send doubles here and there, but it wasn't very often, and they trusted Rudy to do what he did, and Rudy was great with his arm bar, but Rudy did his work early. I think it's one of those things on Jokic, when he has you sealed down low, and he has his head and shoulders kind of towards the rim, it's hard to defend him just because he's got great touch, and he's great IQ with his fouling, his offensive rebounds. But Rudy did his work early, made him catch it in spots that he wasn't comfortable catching it in, and they slowed him down in transition too. They got beat Game 5, 23-13 in transition, and that was obviously a focus going into this game. Is if we keep them out of transition and we have to make them face our half-court defense, you're going to be able to hold them to 100 or less, and that came into fruition, 98 points there in Game 6. But yeah, Rudy was fantastic. All credit to him on the defense end of the ball. But he's going to have a challenge facing Wembanyama here in this next series.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about next. I want to preview the San Antonio Spurs. We'll do that with Parker Fox next on the other side of the break. Brett, you got a keyword over there?
I do. The Fan and BigTech.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is media. The keyword media. KFAN.com. Keyword media.
Wolves up top. Wolves want to use some clock, but they also want to get a good shot. TJ to his right. Jaden McDaniels, 8 to shoot, still beyond the arc. Jaden looking to attack, pulls up, 17-footer, and sticks it! A 30-piece for Jaden McDaniels to go along with his 10 rebounds. He ties his career high. He has backed up his words in this series with his play here in Game 6.
Yeah, Wolves win. They're on to the second round versus the San Antonio Spurs. Parker Fox from Wild fan line, Wolves fan line, also former Golden Gopher great.
I can do Wild too. Why not?
You probably could do Wild. Yeah, you watch as much hockey as anybody around
That's
here.
That's true.
I said before you came on that I felt like this was kind of like a legacy series for a couple different guys that it changed. Like I think the narrative on Jaden McDaniels changed in this series. I think the narrative on Rudy Gobert changed. You follow the Wolves more than I do. You are paying attention to how the fan base is in tune with it more than I am. But do you think maybe Chris Finch gained a little respect here, especially given what they had to do in the series without a bunch of key players?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I said at the beginning of the series, this is a Chris Finch series, and I didn't know that the injuries would go the way they would, and we would lose, 3 key members of our backcourt. But I thought he was excellent. There's many times throughout this series, and especially last night, where I completely agree with the moves that he made defensively, offensively, just the ability to get in their sets, and getting the ball in Terrence Shannon Jr.'s hands on the perimeter, up top. That he played so much throughout. I mean, really throughout his whole NBA career so far, he's just kind of been delegated to the corner. And that's where you put a lot of guys that are off-ball guys that you maybe trust to hit a corner three, because it's supposed to be the easiest three-point shot in the game. And, he can back cut and, one dribble finish at the rim. But that's not his game. That's not who he is. He's a north and south type of, lane line penetrator. And I think that's something that not a lot of guys have. And Chris Finch was able to admit where he was wrong last night in their post-game presser. He said, I've been sticking Terrence Shannon Jr. in the corner, and I need to get him with the ball in his hands on top of the key. And they were able to do that in game 6 there last night, and 24 points was the result because of it. So I give him a lot of credit. And then defensively, Denver threw a little zone at them as well. And he immediately got Rudy and Julius Randle in that high post area to play that kind of high-low two-man game. And Julius tore that up, and Denver had to get out of it. So I think Chris Finch completely outcoached David Adelman this series, not only from a roster standpoint, but from an X's and O's standpoint. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for it.
I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with this San Antonio Spurs roster, right? Like the Denver Nuggets, we had played multiple playoff series against them. We've seen them multiple times. The Spurs, on the other hand, clearly I know Victor Wembanyama, and that's why I want you to focus on him first, and then maybe we can get to the others. I know he's huge. I know he's athletic. I am curious as to how he will change the way the Wolves play offense, because clearly against Denver, we wanted to get to the rim. I think we're going to have a harder time doing that against San Antonio. So how does that change what the Wolves need to do on offense?
Yeah, I mean, from a Rudy Gobert standpoint, it changes a lot, because Rudy no longer can just go stand on that block or in that dunker position, because that completely eliminates everything around the rim. And Victor is going to go down as the greatest shot blocker in NBA history, purely because he's 7'4" with whatever wingspan, probably 7'5", 7'6" wingspan, and he really moves like a unicorn. So it's a unique type of player where this isn't going to be another series where Chris Finch has to get creative with what he wants to do on the offensive side of the ball, because if you stick Rudy down there in that dunker spot, there's going to be no free baskets at the rim. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to have to make shots. It means that we're going to have to find ways to put guys in the best positions to make shots, but it also means that Rudy Gobert is probably going to have to play out of position a little bit, and it's not necessarily going to be a DHO, dribble handoff, or pick and roll type of situation the whole game. Rudy's going to have to be able to pop and initiate offense from the top of the key. And then hopefully Victor Wembanyama will follow him out there. And if he doesn't, I don't know if he's going to be able to be in the game as much as we hope he could be. And I do think that big lineup is something that we can continue to go to, just because San Antonio really doesn't have one of those tweener type of forwards. They bring Harrison Barnes off the bench as one of those bigger guys, but they don't have a whole lot of size outside of Wembanyama. So the offensive rebounding is something that's going to be very key. But they have so much guard depth, and they're going to defend you hard. They're going to play hard. And looking at it already, I think it's already a huge spread going into this game on Monday. So it's already at 14.5. And I know we're on the road, and I know we're depleted. There's no word on Ayo Dosunmu yet. No true word on Anthony Edwards, but it's going to be a test. It's going to be very difficult. The Spurs team is legit. But I think if you're Chris Finch, you just kind of got to get back to the X's and O's. How can you initiate some of your half-court offense? And then you got to find ways to get deflections, get steals, and play in transition, get cheap baskets, because once San Antonio sets up their half-court defense, they're really hard to score on.
So you said, hey, the Wolves got to shoot.
Yes.
I would imagine that's a challenge without Dante DiVincenzo, and then, however long you're without Anthony Edwards, I guess it's possible he comes back at some point in this series. Did they have the shooters to be able to shoot against San Antonio? Yeah,
I mean, that's a great question. That's going to be the $1 million question for this series. On paper, they really don't right now. It was good to see Naz finally make a shot last night, finally hit a three. Jalen Clark hit one off the bench, but as a team, we only hit 7 threes, and a couple of them were just bombs at the end of shot clock. So that scares me a little bit from a shooting perspective. Jaden McDaniels hasn't been where he needs to be from a 3-point shooting standpoint. So I know the guys are in the gym this week. I know that they're working on it. I know it's going to be a focus, but it would be so great to get Ayo Dosunmu back. But he's kind of been the one guy. We're in that game 4 game. He goes 5 of 5 from 3. He's been the one guy that's really been consistent from beyond the arc.
All right, so after Wembanyama, obviously I recognize De'Aaron Fox's name. They acquired, that was a pretty good acquisition from SAC.
Yep.
What can you tell me about Fox and then some of the other guys, the Castle, Vassell, Harper? Who should I be fearing here?
I love it. There's a lot of guys to fear. One of the guys they bring off the bench is Keldon Johnson. He was the 6th man of the year this year. Just a do-it-all type of junkyard dog player. Will get his nose dirty. Will dive on a loose ball. Will make shots. He's a guy that they bring off the bench for kind of energy. Julian Champagny, just a straight 3-and-D type of player. Really great 3-point shooter, plays hard in the defensive end of the ball. You mentioned De'Aaron Fox. He's one of those north and south, super fast type of guys. Obviously can make the 3. He's out there because he can make the 3, but he'd rather explode passing, get to the rim. Stephon Castle, young guy out of UConn, an elite passer, elite shot creator for others. He can make the 3 as well. And then Devin Vassell, their last starter, he's a guy where he's kind of one of those tweener, 6'5", 6'6". I don't have his height on paper in front of me. But kind of an awkward release looking jumper. He releases it really high. But he's a guy that can absolutely fill it up from 3 as well. And then you mentioned Harrison. I don't know if you mentioned Harrison Barnes or not, but he's a guy who's been in the league.
That name.
Yeah, he's a guy who's been in the league forever, coming off the bench. So they have a lot of pieces. I'm looking at it right here. They have probably 5 guards in their rotation that they're comfortable with. Dylan Harper, who I played against.
Does that mean this is like a Julius Randle series then?
Yeah, I mean that's the position, right? That kind of that power forward, that 6'8" to 6'10" type of strong, and Julius was. He was solid in this Denver series, but he also was playing against a guy in Spencer Jones who's a really physical, big defender. I just don't see on paper where that is. Can that be Harrison Barnes? Maybe, but they only played him 13 minutes last game, so they don't want to run his numbers up too much. So I think this is, if you're Julius Randle, you got to be looking at your chops here, because I think this is a series for him where he can really be efficient in isolation, take away from that shot blocking from Victor Wembanyama.
How do you see the Wolves defending San Antonio? So is Jaden on De'Aaron Fox? Can Gobert defend Victor, or is he going to need help? How do you look at the defensive matchups for the Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, you hope you can get Ayo Dosunmu back from that calf soreness, and I think if you can get him back, it allows yourself to do a bunch of different things, be a little bit more versatile defensively. I do think Rudy's going to start on Wemby, just from a size standpoint. If I'm Chris Finch, I go with that big lineup with Nas and Julius. I know they won't start that way because they like to bring.
Right now, they might not have any other options.
I know. Yeah, you're right. But they do like to bring Nas off the bench. I think that's what he's comfortable with. But if they have to start with it, you have to take advantage of that size. So kind of looking at paper, I think Devin Vassell is the guy that I would put Jaden on right away. You'd probably have to start Mike Conley on De'Aaron Fox, and then you kind of go down the list. And if you are playing Terrence Shannon, he's very similar body wise to Stephon Castle. So there's some really good matchups on the defensive end. I think we match up well defensively, but it's going to be about taking away the 3. They hit 12 threes in their game clincher against the Portland Trailblazers, but this is a team that can really fill it up. Every single guy on their roster, even Victor Wembanyama, is comfortable coming off of pin downs and playing in isolation and being able to fill it up from 3.
All right, a hypothetical question here.
Love it.
If the Wolves didn't have Anthony Edwards at all in this series, and I know this isn't going to happen, but it's hypothetical.
Yeah.
And if the Wolves had Anthony Edwards throughout the entire series, what would be your predictions for both? Who would win in how many games in both scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the downer, the messenger of bad news. I would doubt if we saw Anthony Edwards back in the series. And what do I know, right? Like I'm not in that training room every single day. I have no idea. He's been great at getting back from injury. But if we had him, I think this is a series where if you can steal one on the road, you feel really comfortable coming back home and getting 2. And I think if we had him, we could win in 6. but it's going to be really difficult. And if we get the effort we got last night, this team still has a chance. But I think on paper, I think a lot of people, all these the talking heads, will be talking about.
I don't know if we can get it consistently over 7 games. I think
it's difficult, right? So I think you'll see a lot of, from these beat writers, these ESPN writers, they'll be talking about the Spurs winning this series in 5 or 6 games.
Thank you, Parker. Appreciate you for joining, and go Frost tomorrow.
Let's go.
All right, Parker Fox, thank you for joining. We're going to talk Minnesota Wild hockey with Wes Walz from FanDuel Sports Network next.
The white flag. The final seconds ticking down in St. Paul. And that's it.
Colorado, here we come. Yeah, first time in 11 seasons, the Minnesota Wild are in the second round of the playoffs. They're heading to Colorado. One person that is very familiar with the playoff series in Colorado would be former Minnesota Wild player Wes Walz. Wes, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Hey, I've said all season long that I think this is the best team in Wild history. Given you were on the 2003 Wild, are you offended by that statement, or do you want to make your case to defend the 2003 team, or are you going to agree with me?
Well, obviously, from a skill level perspective, I think there are maybe 4 guys on our 03 team that could possibly make this team right now from a skill one. So, but as far as a team and a bunch of guys that really cared about each other, we'll see how it plays out. But you can tell that this group really cares about each other, and just because of how hard they play for each other, you can see it night in, night out, and the way they interact with each other on the road. I get a chance to be out there in Dallas for doing the road games and stuff. So you're around the team a little more, and you see how they interact, and you can tell these guys really care about each other.
Wes, if you would have told me before the playoff series started that Dallas would have 10 power play goals and the Wild would have 4 power play goals, I'd go, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And yet the Wild overcame it. I found it interesting throughout the entire series that the trend just kind of just stayed. This Dallas kept doing well in the power play, and the Wild kept doing well in 5-on-5, and nothing really changed a whole lot.
No, you're right. Not actually thinking back about it, like game 1, we won 6-1. I think their only goal was a power play goal, and I think we had 4 or 5-on-5 strength or even strength goals. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think we had a chart, or I'm not sure it made the air or not, but I think we looked back in the history over the last 12 years. Teams that lost the power play battle, which means the other team that scored more power play goals in the series, I believe they won 72% of the series. So 10-4. It's just losing that battle 10-4 and still winning the series at 6 games is really remarkable. And what's interesting too is the opponent that we're playing, Colorado, in their 4 games, they lost the power play battle 3-1. LA had 3 power play goals in 4 games, and Colorado only had 1. And both those teams are moving on to play each other in the second round. Kind of crazy how it works.
Yeah, and I don't think LA did much other than the power play. I don't think they scored a whole lot of 5-on-5 in that series.
Two even strength goals in 4 games. So they didn't do a whole lot offensively.
We'll talk about Colorado in a little bit because there's a lot to talk about them. Let's talk about the last night, though. Quinn Hughes. I don't have to tell you, he's a pretty dynamic defenseman and clearly makes everyone around him better. I was kind of waiting for a Quinn Hughes moment, and I think we kind of got it last night. But even though we really didn't have a Quinn Hughes moment until Game 6, I thought he was great the entire playoff series, Wes. I mean, defensively, because I thought he got a little leaky defensively towards the end of the regular season. Some kind of lack of focus at times in front of their own net and turning the puck over. But man, he was virtually mistake-free the entire playoffs.
Yeah, he really opened my eyes, Tenna, in these 6 games. And I know everyone's waiting for that breakout game offensively, but going into the series, I would agree 100% with you. And I think we actually talked about it on the air about not just Quinn Hughes' defensive game, but I thought Brock Faber too down the stretch. They were having so much fun. You could just see it. They were like playing river hockey every night.
Yeah.
They were like little kids out playing street hockey. Like they were having so much fun getting up the ice, and they got a little reckless at times.
Yes.
Not at times. Like I mean, you could see it every night. They were on the ice for a lot of 5-on-5 goals against. And I just remember watching these games, and I'm going, this is not worth the Dallas Stars. It just won't. You'll win the odd game, but you're going to lose in 6 games if this keeps up. And I'm telling you, I watched them very, very closely defensively. And both those guys, obviously, Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber, they were dialed in defensively. They did not play reckless at all, Tenna. They took what the game gave them. We didn't score a lot off of the rush, just simply because those two guys especially, they didn't take a lot of chances offensively. Because they didn't take a lot of chances offensively, they didn't waste a lot of energy in the offensive zone. So when they were in their own zone too, they were 100% committed to playing hard. And not just that, they had enough juice and energy to play hard against some of the top players in the world. And, obviously we know what Quinn Hughes can do offensively, but I was very, very footwork defensively. His stick, I mean, he's never going to be Brock Faber in his own zone. There's no question about that. But the way he dialed in Quinn defensively was a big reason why the Minnesota Wild are moving on.
I think what you're saying about those two, you could probably also say about their offensive stars in Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov. Right? I know there were a lot of Wild fans who were bothered with Kirill and him not really having offensive moments, but one, you look at the numbers when the series is over, and his plus minus is great, and his points are great, and his analytics are great. I know scoring the big overtime goal is the one that sticks out to fans, but he also is a guy that can get a little reckless during the regular season and turn pucks over, and he didn't do a whole lot of that in the series. He didn't hurt you in any way. Like when his line was on the ice, they weren't getting hemmed in their own zone a whole lot.
Kirill Kaprizov talk was almost comical. Even in Game 4 and Game 5, he's not scoring. He only had 1 goal before he got that empty netter out there in Dallas. I mean, he obviously had 3 points in Game 1. Lost Zuki.
Yeah.
His game got a little quiet there for a couple games for sure. We only had a couple shots per game, but he's still you still notice him. Like he's impactful still. And I couldn't agree with you more, Santa. His game was so responsible. And we're talking about Kirill Kaprizov, who can make plays. He's an incredible hockey player, but even him, when he didn't have a tape-to-tape pass, he would put pucks into areas where his teammate could skate onto it. Like he wasn't making high-risk plays. And how many times in 6 games did you see him roll over on his forehand when he does his 2 and 10 and tries to do a cross-ice pass that hits 1 out of every 6 times, and the other 5 times that it doesn't hit, you got to play in your own zone for 2 minutes. I mean, we saw that a lot during the season, but he was one of the guys as well, Kirill Kaprizov, that did just played within the system, played a very simple, hard game, and I thought he was incredible. And actually, looking at the numbers closer, going into with Kirill going into Game 6. At 5-on-5, he was on the ice for high danger chances for 22-9 through the first 5 games. So that tells you he was getting it done offensively and obviously defensively. So that narrative that followed Kirill around during that series was borderline comical. And then obviously Matt Boldy scored the big overtime goal in Game 4. I still go back to the goal that Marcus Foligno scored with 5 minutes left as the biggest goal in the series. If he doesn't score that goal, and about 30 seconds before that, I don't know if you remember, Quinn Hughes had the puck in the offensive zone, and he broke a couple ankles at the top of the zone, which allowed for a bit of a breakdown to get that puck into the net. So when it mattered most, Quinn Hughes made a huge play on that goal in Game 4, and then we obviously saw what Quinn was able to do in Game 6.
You don't win a series against a team as good as Dallas without great goaltending, and not only did Jesper Wallstedt match Jake Ottinger, I think he outplayed Ottinger in this series. I know when you have a young goalie like that going into a series, you don't exactly know what you're going to get out of him until he plays. I have to imagine he comes across as someone who exudes a lot of confidence, and I have to also imagine that permeates to the team as well. Oh
yeah, it's an important quality to have. I actually I actually mentioned in the post game, he's got that it thing, man, and you know it when you see it, and it's not something that you can develop as an athlete. The it thing, it's in your DNA. You either have it or you don't. It's just very, very simple. He's a very confident kid. We had him out at the hockey school this summer, signing autographs for the kids and doing Q&As this summer, and he was just awesome with the kids and took all the time to sign the autographs. And listen, obviously it was a huge decision about who was going to start game one in this series. It was a gutsy move to go with the young rookie. But I think that move that they made in starting Jesper Wallstedt in game one just gave him so much confidence, because now he's looking at the team going, man, they do trust me. I mean, I said this in an earlier radio interview too, that if he doesn't start game one and maybe they go with Gus, and maybe they come back with Wally in game two, if things don't go well in game one, does he have the same confidence, Tenna?
Sure.
Well, they didn't trust me for game one. Now they want to throw me in there. So rolling with the rookie, and he earned that opportunity. I think if you asked Wild fans before the series started, I think it probably would have been 80% that everybody wanted to see Wally, and they got their wish, and it really, really paid off. This guy is unafraid of the moment.
You mentioned Wallstedt showing up to your West Walls hockey school. I know my boys will be there up in Super Rink later in the summer. Do you have any other openings?
Oh yeah, well we have a few. We run the camp the last week of July, and actually the whole month of August. So it's 5 straight weeks of camps at Egan, Woodbury, Blaine, St. Louis Park, kind of all over the Twin Cities area. And I know some of the age groups at certain places are already sold out, but there are spots still available. The camp's not till August anyway, so people are still slowly signing up at all the other at the camp. So if anyone's interested, the website to go to is www.wild/hockey school is the website. There's still spots available. We got incredible instructors. Wild players come out and sign autographs, do Q&As. We give away Wild jerseys, sign Wild jerseys. We make sure the kids have a lot of fun, and they're on the ice a ton. So thank you for asking about that.
Yeah,
that was great.
My boys have loved it, so I know they're looking forward to it as well. All right, I want to ask you, were you freaking out when Joel Eriksson-Ek went foot first into the boards last night, all of a sudden leaves the game in a tie game against us? Not only thinking, we might not have Joel Eriksson-Ek the rest of this game. Is he going to be out for the playoffs? Are we not even going to be able to advance now without him? It was a scary couple minutes there for Wild fans.
That was scary, because I remember I was at the desk there with Katie, and I'm saying, we better slam the door here in this game, because if we don't have Eriksson-Ek for game 7 or Brodin up there, it's going to be a tall chore to go back up there to Dallas. But when he came back, I think he came back on the bench at some point in the third period or the start of the third or whatever. What a sigh of relief for Wild fans when they mentioned it on the broadcast. They showed the replay. It was he just turned in the corner. I think he was going at like 70%, but he turned in the corner, nobody around him.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think he hit the boards that hard, to be honest with you. And I'm like, I cannot, like, it looked like he got hit by a Mack truck the way they were carrying him off. I'm like, Eriksson-Ek does not go off the ice like that. So when you see it, you're always thinking the worst. And we've seen that before with that guy, how hard he plays. But yeah, having him back was huge, Tenna. You recognize that, and you're 100% right. I couldn't agree with you more. And, even if he is a little bit banged up, the fact that they got the job done in 6 games gives these guys another couple days to kind of settle for that thing, whatever he's got going on, to settle down.
Obviously, you played for the Wild. You've been associated with the Wild basically for the entire existence of the franchise. You know the anxiety fans have regarding first round of the playoffs. And the Wild took care of business last night, and I loved the way they reacted after, the way they talked about it, and like, no, we're not here just to win a first round. We're here to win the Stanley Cup. But is that something that a fan base's anxiety, does that have any impact at all on how players are feeling? Do they hear any of this stuff? Do they not care? How do actual players take in that type of information?
Well, I think today with social media is so much different than when we went through what we went through in 2003. people have access to everything that's going on around the world. So I think it's different now. But I will, when you asked me that question, the first thing that popped into my mind was when Wally was interviewed after the game. I think pretty sure he had a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, after we had made it 4-2 with the empty net goal, and the crowd was going crazy. He skated over in the corner, and he said he happened to look up in the stands, and he saw a woman crying in the stands.
Yeah.
And that's when he realized, wow, how big this moment really is for the fans. And I do think as a player, Tenna, I really do think as a player, when the playoffs roll around, you roll into the rink at 4:00. There's no fans really at the building yet. You leave a little bit later when the building's empty. And then you go home. You're not really going out in public. You're just doing your thing. I really do think that sometimes the players don't really recognize how much this means to the fans. Now it's a little different. They understand that more. But I still think the players are just so focused on the job and making sure that they're ready to play every game. I do think that sometimes they miss out on how big it is for the fans. But the fact that Wally looked up in the stands and he saw some lady there with a Wild jersey on crying tells you all you need to know about this Wild fan base and what it means for them.
All right, the Colorado Avalanche, obviously they've got some massive star power there. I'm curious, from a stylistic standpoint, how do they play different compared to the Dallas Stars?
The one thing that jumps out to me is the power play. I mean, like we just talked about this at the beginning of the interview. It's amazing that we gave up 10 goals and we're moving through to the next round. The Colorado Avalanche finished for as strong as they were offensively. They finished 27th on the power play, Tenna, in the regular season, which is actually crazy when you think about the top top unit and who they could put on the ice. And to back that up, they went 1 for 11 against the LA Kings, which is very interesting as well. And I'm sure the coaching staff, I'm sure, breaking down a lot of video right now and looking very closely, probably at how the Los Angeles Kings allowed only 1 goal against on the penalty kill to Colorado. So that's one area that Wild fans don't have to be quite as nervous. So when Colorado gets the power play, they're 5-on-5 play. Colorado, like obviously with all the big names, everyone thinks they love to fill the net, and they do. But they are really an unbelievable defensive team. They can lock it down, and they only gave up 2 even strength goals in that whole series against LA, and they were the top defensive team. Didn't give up the most, like they were the ranked number 1 as far as giving up high danger chances. Like they can lock it down. They're that good. Obviously Nathan McKinnon, he's an incredible player. I was looking closer at his numbers and his splits in his career, and it's not good if you're a Wild fan. He has more goals against the Wild than any other team in the National Hockey League and more points. So he's had his way with the Wild. And not having Jonas Brodin in that matchup is not going to help the situation. So it's going to be an incredible series. I do think that if Jesper Wallstedt continues to play the way he's playing, that the Wild would have the advantage in net, the position that probably matters the most if you want to get by Colorado. But I really, Tenna, I don't know if you agree with this, but I expect a really low-scoring series, like a lot of 3-2 games, 2-1 games, and if you look at the 4 games that the teams played against each other in the regular season, I think the Avalanche outscored the Wild 12-11 in like 4 games. So a lot of low-scoring games, and I don't know. It's going to be amazing to watch Quinn Hughes jump around at the top of the blue line, and then when the puck goes in the Wild's end, watching Cale Makar jump around guys. So I know the Wild like to play man-on-man defensively when the pucks go from low to high. So keeping Cale Makar in front of you is going to be a challenge, because if he gets past you with the way we defend in our own zone, if he gets past you at the top of the zone, there's a chance that he's going to be able to take it right to the hoop, and he did it a couple times against the LA Kings. So I'm going to watch that pretty closely as well.
1 minute to go, Wes. How do you feel like the Wild's depth matches up with Colorado's depth? Because I think we all know about Colorado's star power.
Yeah, I haven't really looked that closely at their depth, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
I did see that O'Connor maybe had 1 goal, and that's like in that series. He was really the only guy that wasn't one of their top guys that scored a goal in that last series against Los Angeles here. And I thought our scoring depth, obviously we talked about the big goal Marcus Foligno scored, but in that series that we just played, McCarron with 2 goals, Marcus Foligno with 3 goals from the fourth line, and they didn't have any. And that was a big reason why the Minnesota Wild are moving on. So I do think that the Wild are going to have the advantage in that area. The other area that I would really look to is the physicality side of things. The way the Minnesota Wild, how physical they were, and like really hard hits, like just trying to wear down the Colorado Avalanche team through the course of a long series. I'm really interested to see if Colorado can hang with the Wild in that department.
We're out of time, so unfortunately I didn't get to ask you about Brent Burns, but your old teammate's still playing hockey. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I think Burnsy's played the most games in the NHL without ever winning a Stanley Cup. Let's hope that stays that way.
I would like that as well. Thank you, Wes. Appreciate it. Always love talking with you.
You got it, Tenna. Take care.
All right, Wes Walz, former Minnesota Wild center, part of the last Wild team that got to a Western Conference final. Hopefully we'll have a team this year that will match them. Brett, thanks for your time helping out today. Appreciate
Great job.
it. Thank you to Wes Walz, Parker Fox, and Pat Micheletti all for helping out. The Common Man will be back on Monday, so the Tennafitzgerald is done sailing for these 2 days, but we'll be back with Common on Monday. Thank you so much for listening the last 2 days. Have a great weekend. Go Wild, go Wolves, go Frost. It's been a good day.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.